DJ Khaled. This guy. He doesn't rap, he doesn't sing, he doesn't produce beats, he doesn't play any instruments. Does he even DJ? But his name is everywhere, and he gets top billing while hovering around all these other artists that you might know, showing off his bling, shouting his name at every opportunity, and generally being loud, brash, and annoying. He's won a Grammy, he's released 10 albums that have charted in the top 10, he's a New York Times best-selling author, and not to mention his 9-figure net worth and tens of millions of followers across social media. Why? How? Is he some bored, insecure rich guy who just knows people? Or is he for real? Well, I didn't really know, so I set out to find out who the f is DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled was born Khaled Mohammed Khaled in New Orleans to Palestinian parents who sold clothes at a flea market in order to make a living. Eventually, they scaled up enough to afford a retail store, and the family moved to Orlando, Florida, but problems with the tax man meant that they had everything seized, and they had to move back. But Khaled had had a taste of Florida, and he was determined to go back.
I want the house on the water. I want the nice car. I want the nice watch. I want to stay fresh. I want to stay clean. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. You should strive for greatness.
He got a job at Odyssey Records and would spend every second that the bosses were gone phoning record labels and trying to get a deal. This was also where he would meet Birdman and a young Lil Wayne, who would later appear on all of Khaled's albums. He eventually moved back to Orlando and from there to Miami, where he landed a slot on a pirate radio station called Mix 96. Sleeping at the radio station, Khaled spent all his time DJing on air, and the exposure helped him get a residency at Miami's biggest hip-hop party, Rockers Island. Soon, the lines were going round the block, filled with people wanting to experience the raw energy of DJ Khaled. He was slowly starting to make waves in the Miami hip-hop scene, further promoting himself guerrilla style by handing out flyers and mixtapes in the street, and eventually crossed over to the mainstream when he was approached by Uncle Luke from 2 Live Crew to be featured on his show on 99 Jamz Radio. A few years later, he had his own slot. It was through these early radio gigs where Khaled started showcasing his energetic persona, working the crowd into a frenzy by hyping up the songs with shoutouts and ad-libs over the instrumentals in a nod to what would become his signature style. It also allowed him to establish a wide range of connections, and after a couple of contributions to a Terror Squad album in 2004, Khaled finally got a deal to make his own debut album. Listen, the album was released in 2006 and featured a huge number of artists, including some big names like John Legend, Lil Wayne, Kanye West, and Pitbull. Khaled said that he had to call in every favor for this album.
Everything is in the ocean, is in this pot.
Those of you who've heard this album or any DJ Khaled tune ever made won't be surprised, but DJ Khaled rarely appears on this album. In the intro track, he barks a sloppy half verse before rattling off a list of artists that appear on the album and then shouts, "Listen," a bunch of times. For the rest of the album, he does even less. He doesn't seem to have produced any of the beats or written any of the lyrics, and yet he's credited as a writer on most of the tracks. And ultimately, his name is the one that's on the album itself. So this begs the question, what did DJ Khaled actually do on this album to make it his album? What has he done on any album that he's produced in the last 2 decades?
8 albums in. Who has done it better than me? Nobody. Biggest in the game. We the best music. Another one.
I guess at this point, it's worth looking at the role of producers in music.
Go buy your mama a house. Go buy your whole family houses. Baby, let the music take control. Let We the Best sound take control, baby. Hold on, say my name.
Most casual music fans will think of names like Timbaland and Pharrell when they hear the word producer, writing and playing, singing and rapping on the songs, and also often appearing in the music videos. Or maybe figures like Max Martin and Shellback, who are known for writing irresistible earworms for the biggest pop stars in the world. Let's put them on this side of the spectrum. More traditionally, however, the role of a producer has been closer to that of an arranger, studio wizard, or general psychological support guide. They would often guide the artist's ideas, helping separate the good from the bad, as well as steering them towards a specific and coherent sound that they had a vision for. George Martin, also known as the Fifth Beatle, is said to have written most of their orchestral arrangements, and his experimentation in the studio helped the Beatles achieve the array of interesting sounds that defined the latter part of their career. Mutt Lange helped AC/DC find their more mainstream-friendly sound and helped Shania Twain to transition from country to pop, resulting in 2 of the biggest selling albums of all time in Back in Black and Come On Over respectively. And Nigel Godrich alongside his contributions to the sound of Radiohead's albums, spends his time suggesting to the band that they should play little games or change the recording location, all in the name of keeping the creative flame alive. Despite their more backseat role, these producers are still supremely talented musicians and have occasional contributions to the music they produce, even if they are not the sole songwriters. Going further along the spectrum, we have a figure like Rick Rubin. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of music and is credited for mixing rock and hip-hop in the 80s, as well as later in the form of nu metal. But these days he's known more for being the guy with the big white beard, sitting barefoot in the corner and negotiating with the spirits to bring down inspiration from above. And crucially, Rubin's other major contribution to music is as the founder of labels Def Jam and American Recordings, as well as the former president of Columbia Records, where he would have been in charge of finding new talent and bringing them together. And so that brings us back to DJ Khaled. Where does he sit on this spectrum? Although he doesn't make beats or rap on any of his tunes, his albums are often a bit of a who's who, so he clearly knows how to talk to artists and convince them to appear on his albums. And he's also been successful at helping to boost upcoming talent, featuring Drake on the song Fed Up before Drake had even released an album of his own. He makes decisions about how the songs should sound, even if he doesn't know how to do it himself, and also brings the energy and motivation to those around him to bring their best performances, similar to the renowned producers I mentioned earlier.
You smart. You very smart. We the best. You a genius.
Another key component of staying relevant when you're the head of a label with no musical talent is marketing. If you thought that Khaled shouting his name, "We the best," or "another one" in every track was a coincidence, think again. Sure, it may have originally stemmed from his inflated ego, but it mainly serves as a signal to the listener that DJ Khaled is behind this production, and also puts the name of his label, We the Best, in their mind over and over again. Khaled is also famous for his social media presence, starting with Snapchats about the keys to success, life tips, and memeable catchphrases.
Tell him to bring out the lobster.
These showcase his persona, a loud, eccentric, and provocative but goofy hustler who you can't help but laugh at. And although most people will never see the kind of money that he shows off on his social media, he manages to be relatable by unapologetically being himself. And the catchphrases also coherently tie together his music and his marketing efforts under one single recognizable and provocative brand. Love him or hate him, in a time where the presidential candidate Donald Trump was using outrageous catchphrases to belittle his opponents and garner popularity, you can see why DJ Khaled's brand of marketing worked. His popularity exploded as a result of his social media presence and brought massive attention onto him and his music, and he released 4 platinum albums in a row in the years that followed. However, as his influence increased, some cracks in his positive and inspirational persona started to show. He was fined for promoting a cryptocurrency project that turned out to be a scam, and also got into a beef with Tyler the Creator, posting a video insulting Tyler's music when Tyler's album beat him to the #1 spot in the charts. Nevertheless, Khaled storms on, still posting clips from his day-to-day life on social media and occasionally promoting products like lighters to keep his empire going.
You know I rock with that Bud Light Platinum Seltzer. I appreciate you. You know how we roll.
So ultimately, who the fuck is DJ Khaled?
I'm one of the greatest that ever did it.
It would be tough to say that he's a musical artist, and would definitely be an insult to musicians actually writing music. But in his role of label owner, curator, and organizer, he brings together musicians that ordinarily may not have ever come together and makes it possible for tracks to get made, both financially and from an organizational standpoint. And judging by the chart performances of his albums and the streaming figures on Spotify, he's still in tune with the musical landscape, giving people what they want to hear. He's pushed the meaning of producer even further into the abstract and brought the traditional world of label executives into the public eye, using his unique personality for free marketing. It's a glimpse into the range of roles that exist in the music industry, and a reminder that we only see a sliver of them in more traditional album cycles. For example, there's another massive music producer who's been the mastermind behind Britney Spears, Katy Perry, Ariana Grande, and the Backstreet Boys, just to name a few. And recently, he's overtaken George Martin as the producer with the most #1 hits ever, with the release of Ariana Grande's Yes and. But unlike DJ Khaled, he actively tries to hide from the limelight and the media attention that such success brings. So go watch our video on him to find out more. And I'll see you next time on Mixed Signals.
Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. And another one. And another one.